So a lot of times I like to read articles about space. I like to read articles about the macro universe. We're going to bring it down to the micro today. And we're going to talk about the mysteries of life's origins. Wow. Because apparently Popular Mechanics is going to bring us an article. And they're going to say that a new study may very well solve the number one mystery of life's origins. Wow. Thank you, #science. Thank you, #technology. Because, we need answers. So why not try to answer and solve the number one mystery of life's origins? Let's go into it. When exploring the origins of life, scientists primarily use a bottom-up or top-down approach, a reference to analyzing pre-life or post-life Earth. How do you analyze post-life Earth? Isn't that like a... How do you analyze post-life Earth? Isn't that the speculation? And along those lines, wouldn't pre-life Earth be a speculation? Some of us kind of think, I don't know, people like me, that this realm wouldn't exist without life. That it's our consciousness that innervates the very fabric and the metaphysics of this reality. And some of us kind of think that maybe consciousness came first. That consciousness is the overarching reality, and that we actually create the world around us, collectively and individually. But I don't know, #science apparently figured out the origins of life. Let's go into it. A new study by scientists from Oberlin College and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Oh, weird how NASA just kind of shows up everywhere. I don't know. Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Remember yesterday, somewhere in time, you remember, we talked about Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and how it was the precursor to NASA, and it really stands for Jack Parsons Laboratory, and how Jack Parsons has very strong links to occult, ritualistic, mystical, magical practices, and he's strongly associated with Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard. So weird. Here we go. We're talking about #science, and right away we got to throw in NASA and JPL. That's so interesting. Yeah. Let's continue. A new study by the scientists in NASA's JPL suggested electron transport chains, a metabolism system that creates usable energy, could have been present in Earth's prebiotic minerals and seawaters. Right. Because, guys, this is going to be based on a concept called abiogenesis. That's right, guys. This is where they tell you that all life originated from minerals. That's right, guys, minerals. Or, as they say here, more specifically, these electron transport chains, which is a metabolism system that creates usable energy and that could have been present in prebiotic minerals and seawater. You have to realize something about life. Life is defined by metabolism, metabolic processes. For something to be alive, whether it's an animal or a plant, it has to have metabolic processes. It has to be able to convert forms of matter into energy. Well, they're saying that the basics of metabolism is these electron transport chains, and that they could have been present in minerals and seawater. So it's basically not life, but it's life. It's like that in-between moment between not life and life. Because that's what science is basically telling us that they're understanding now. It's like, okay, you have like stuff that's like not life, and then you have stuff that's life, and then even though they seem to be completely different things, that somewhere in between those two diametrically opposed concepts, that you could find like the in-between zone. Because, they have a narrative. They have a narrative that we all evolved over billions and billions of years from nothing, from basically, as they say, prebiotic minerals, to the complex organisms that make up you and me and everybody else that you know. So they have to give us answers. So their narrative, their hashtag science narrative and hashtag academia narrative, and the Rockefeller-funded educational system has to tell us that we evolved because God forbid that we realize that there is a God, whatever you want to call him, her, or otherwise. God forbid we say there's a God or a creator of spirit or anything else. Nope, they need to tell you that it's evolution. And if we evolved from nothing, they have to tell you how that happened. So here we go. Let's continue. This could give scientists a new avenue to explore life's early years while also helping astronomers explore worlds with similar chemical compounds. Oh, so if we could discover how life originated here on this hashtag planet, then we may be able to discover about other hashtag planets that have similar chemical compounds. Maybe we could live there. Who knows? Exploring the origins of life on Earth is one of science's greatest pursuits. And it's an experimental journey that leads down to two prominent paths, known as bottom-up and top-down. These paths represent how scientists attempt to answer the all-important question, how are we here? Is this real? How are we here? The bottom-up approach looks at the conditions of prebiotic or pre-life Earth around 4.28 billion to 3.77 billion years ago and tries to understand how life formed from the raw minerals present in distant past. Right. You see the slippery logical fallacy that they do here? I always like to point out logical fallacies because, guys, I'm going to implore you, and we did a 4-part series on logical fallacies, which I am going to compile and launch. If you understand logical fallacies, you understand their tricks. You understand their deceptive, slippery tricks. I want to go by this. Let's go examine the wording here. The bottom-up approach looks at the conditions of prebiotic, which is pre-life Earth, around 4.28 billion to 3.77 billion years ago, and tries to understand how life formed from raw materials present in distant past. See, they say it of how life formed, not whether life formed, not if life formed from raw materials, i.e. prebiotic minerals. No. How. You see the slippery word? Just use the word how because it assumes, it posits as axiomatic that life did indeed form from raw materials. Either 4.8 billion to 3.77 billion years ago. Look, I'm going to say this again. I don't care what you guys think. You may not understand what I'm doing here. Some people do. I do. Just because Lubast has no fucking clue what I'm doing here, just because the CIA has no clue what I'm doing here, probably because they lack the intelligence to do so, doesn't mean a lick of fucking difference. I know what I'm doing here. You don't have to know. But maybe try to catch up, gentlemen. That's the logical fallacy, guys. Because they're trying to tell you that they're trying to understand how life formed from raw materials, not if life formed from raw materials. Do you see? Don't you get it? They don't get it. Some of you get it. Some of you fucking get it. Let me continue. In contrast, the top-down, so that was the bottom-up approach to understand how life formed from these raw materials, these minerals, like 4 billion years ago. But then they say in contrast, there's a top-down method. The top-down method looks at modern animals and tries to trace their evolutionary biology to life's early days. Although both paths have only their own unique twists, turns, and illuminations. Look how they had to throw in illuminations. Neither is wholly capable of explaining life's origins. But what if those two distinct paths suddenly merge back together? Then what? Then they would be capable of explaining life's origins? Dummies. Guys, these scientists, they're no smarter than you. All their credentials, all their diplomas mean nothing, guys. Nothing really. The only thing that matters is facts. The only thing that matters is logic. The only thing that matters is your God-given divinity for critical thought, rationality, and reason. That's all that matters. I know Christy Lee Dolls, as you say. Yeah, see, this is what Christy Lee Dolls gets turned on when Z goes into this mode. It makes her wildly fucking attracted to me. But the problem is, she'll never fuck me. I get Christy Lee Dolls turned on when I talk about #science, and then she just goes on Bumble and finds the nearest guy to her in her area who's over 6 foot, has his 6-figure income, and his over 6-inch dick. So what does it matter to me, Christy Lee Dolls, that this turns you on if you're just going to go fuck the nearest Chad down the block? How does that help me? Christos, are you paying attention? I see you here. I turn Christy Lee Dolls on with this shit, and then she fucks Chatter Tyrone, who's going to beat the brakes off that fucking beautiful ass. Sorry, I get fucked up. This happens to me. I need a week off, guys. I'm just telling you. I'm going to do my fast week. I'm going to bring my guest hosts in. I already have OTW lined up. I already have Access Rap Blood lined up for a day. Who else did I say? I'm bringing you guys in as guest hosts. Benton. You missed it, Christy Lee Dolls. We're going to do a week of guest hosts. I just need off. I got to do a fast. I got to do a cleanse. It's too much for me. Anyway, where was I? I'm trying to overturn all conventional science. I'm trying to show you guys that they're lying to you about the very science of this world that they're presenting. And then I get distracted and I start talking about Christy Lee Dolls and my sexual frustrations regarding that. God, where am I? Let me continue. Fuck. New research from scientists at Oberlin College and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL. Didn't we already do this part? Anyway, published this week in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Oh, that's a journal. Because, people always say, where's the research? Where's the peer-reviewed? Where's the peer-reviewed research? Okay, well, let me ask you, if you can only if my peers, whatever that means, can only, review my research if it gets in one of your stupid journals, let's think about it. How do I get into one of your stupid journals? Well, first I got to do the research, which means I have to be approved. I have to be funded. Well, who approves? Who funds? I don't know. Look into that maybe. And then once that happens, then they have to decide, do they want to put you in their journal, your peer-reviewed journal? All right, so it looks like this wonderful fucking article was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Ooh, sounds very special. Sounds important. Let's continue. This new research says that electron transport chains, ETC, could be the connective tissue between these bottom-up and top-down approaches. Right. See what it's saying, dude? So they're trying to tell you that the basics of metabolism, which defines life in this realm, metabolic processes define life. Oh, what does Z know? Anyway, what does Z know? They're trying to tell you that the basics of metabolisms come down to these electron transport chains, and that we can then link this electron transport chain system to these prebiotic minerals, because minerals is not life. So they're trying to say not life and life can be linked. And of course, they're going to use electrons, electron transport chains, because everything's electrons. Because What does Z always tell you? Well, they try to give you a world based on electrons and a particle physics based on electrons. And they try to say things are quantum based off electrons when there's really no proof of electrons. And they try to say energy flows because of these exchanging of electrons within these atoms and particles. No proof, no proof, no proof. There's no proof of weak and strong nuclear forces, which would have to exist if these electrons are to exist. Just like there's no proof of gravity. And how Z tells you everything is really just electromagnetic. But I digress. What does Z know? He just has a drama channel. What does Z know? As he's overturning all popular science every single fucking morning. Christy Lee Dolls gets it. Do you? Still not gonna get Z laid. Anyway, let's continue. Because now I'm really digressing. The most basic features of biology, that organisms are made of cells, that they pass genetic information through DNA, that they use protein enzymes to run their metabolism, all emerged through specific processes in very early evolutionary history. Adam Goldman, anyway, small hattie, everybody, associate professor of biology at Oberlin College and study co-author, says in a press statement, quote, understanding how these most basic biological systems first took shape will give us greater insight into how life works at the most fundamental levels. Yes, yes, yes. Let me keep going. We're almost done, guys. Hang in with me. All life uses a type of ETC, which is a metabolic system that produces usable forms of energy, just like Z said. Anyway, let's continue. Humans, cats, dogs, and all other animals contain mitochondria that produces energy from our heterotrophic, which means food-consuming metabolism. Plants, on the other hand, are autotrophic due to their sunlight-munching superpowers. You know, chlorophyll. Let's continue. But they still use a similar form of ETC. It's all metabolism, guys. No matter where you get it, to have life, you have to have metabolic processes, and they're going to base it on these ETC and try to tell you that there's a link between, minerals and these basic ETC fundamental processes of metabolism. Let's continue. Even extremophiles, including those that live near hydrothermal vents, also use fascinia. What is that? Sorry. Let me try this one again, because this is important, guys. Literally, I'm trying to tell you guys that they're lying to you, but let me continue. Even extremophiles, including those that live near hydrothermal vents, also use fascinatingly distinctive forms of ETC. So what they mean there is, apparently we say that everything comes from the sun. All our energy, the energy that fuels these metabolic processes, and what they're saying here as these heterotrophic and autotrophic processes in metabolism, comes from the sun. But apparently there's life that exists deep, deep, deep down in the ocean. And it's all based off these hydrothermal vents. And they actually get their energy from this thermal energy. They're saying even these organisms have to use metabolism and show these distinctive forms of ETC. Okay, gotcha. Let's continue. Goldman and the rest of the research team discovered that these electron transport chains could also have been facilitated by minerals in the early ocean water. Really, guys? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? You're just going to tell me there's evidence. You're probably going to show me a lot of circumstantial evidence. Where's the causation? Or do you just look at things and try to fit them into your narrative? Because now you're trying to tell me that these electron transport chains could also have been facilitated by minerals, not life. Remember, minerals is not life, guys. There's life and there's not life, and minerals are certainly not life. Let's continue. and early ocean water, according to the press release. This basically means that the energy transporting processes that make life possible likely predated life itself, of course, which provides the bridge between inert materials of early life and the living organisms that evolved from that initially lifeless landscape. Again, they're assuming the very thing they're trying to prove. Do you understand, guys? This is called a begging the question fallacy. When you assume the very thing you're trying to prove, let me break it down for you guys with the training rules, like CIA and dumbfuck Lou. If you're trying to prove that life originated from inert materials, you can't assume that life originated from inert materials when you're trying to prove it. You understand that, guys? Do you see the begging the question logical fallacy that's obviously present here? I see it. Some of you see it. Christy Lee Doll sees it. That's why she's fucking pleasuring herself right now as we speak. You know it's happening, Christy. But 99.999 repeating percent of this earth does not see it. Z sees it. Let's continue. Although exploring these ancient ETC processes will require a multidisciplinary approach, it's also incredibly useful for finding life elsewhere. Yeah, elsewhere, because of course there's life elsewhere. Scientists from NASA were involved in the study after all. Yeah, I'm sure they were. Let's continue. The better we can paint a picture of life's origins on Earth, scientists can then search for those same ingredients on other worlds. And now we have the money shot. They bring it in right into the second to the last sentence. They bring in the money shot. Thank you. And we're going to finish off. But back to this planet. Right. Again, because we're just going to assume Earth's a planet. Because why not? We see a bunch of other, wandering stars in the skies that we call planet. So, of course, we're just going to assume, again, logical fallacy, anybody, that life is just, a planet. Anyway, back on this planet, scientists have built a connective bridge between the two paths of exploring life's origin. Who knows what we'll find when we walk across it. Wonderful article. Thank you, #science. Thank you, #academia. Thank you, the Rockefeller Foundation, for bringing us all this, wonderful information. I mean, I know it completely goes against all logic, reasoning, and, like I said, God-given ability for critical thought and rationality. But, hey, why not just go along with the narrative? Go along to get along, guys. Go along to get along. You'll get your paycheck, and you'll get your fancy things. You'll get laid. You get laid because, like I said, Christy Lee dolls ain't fucking the Z's of this world. You know it, Christy Lee dolls. And that's why it's hard for you. Because you don't know what to do. Because you know what the right thing is to do. You're attracted to the Z's of the world because of our integrity, our honesty. But are you really going to bring a Z into your life? No. You're going to bring in the guy in who's got the fiat, he's got the home, he's got the, the fundamentals of what you need for safety, security, and the urge to nest. And those things come from the system. The system controls those. What an ingenious control metric. So Z has to come on every morning and says, does he want to continue to live up to his standards of truth, honesty, integrity? Or does he want to go back to selling himself out to the system? And maybe Christy Lee dolls will jump up and down on his pogo stick. I don't know. Much love, everybody. Thank you. That concludes another #science segment.